Are you having an existential crisis about your ability to learn Japanese? Years pass by, days pass by, minutes pass by, as every second dwindles into the eternal flame of nothingness, and you're still not learning kanji. You still can't write kanji, even after the eternal flame is burned for however many days you're studying Japanese. Hey guys, this is Evan from Grokadu, coming to you with another video about my life here in Japan. So I thought I'd talk today about some of the Japanese kanji study methods, the Heisig method in particular that I've heard from different YouTubers in Japan over the years. To be honest, I don't really watch that many J-vlogs anymore because I've been in Japan for 10 years, but you know, when I did watch them, I remember people talking about this all the time, and that's the Heisig method. So the Heisig method is basically, for people who don't know what kanji is, first of all, kanji are the Japanese characters that were imported from China, and there's thousands of them. So if you want to learn how to write in Japanese or read in Japanese, you need to learn 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 plus kanji. And you know, I mean, there's different routes that, like, there's different ways to study them where you're not actually learning 5,000 completely new things, but to be honest, it's a lot, and I'm still encountering kanji here and there that I don't know even after 10 years. So one of the most common study methods that people talked about for a long time was the Heisig method. I remember Abroad in Japan made a video about this, which is a really funny video, but in my opinion, the Heisig method doesn't really work after a certain amount of time. So what is the Heisig method? The Heisig method is basically Heisig, I don't know. It's basically the idea is that there are different roots that go into each Japanese character and they mean different things. So you might have the character for sun. That's in, like, for example, in like Nichiyobi, the first character is the character for sun, and then also the character for sun is in the second part of that word, which is like a piece of a different kanji. So you'll have different kanji that combine together and they make different meanings. So when you're first studying Japanese, you'll learn these different parts and you'll learn how to combine these different parts, and it helps you, you know, kind of memorize the meaning of different words or how to write different words and all of that, and that's all well and good. But the problem is, once you get to a certain level, the Heisig method completely falls apart because it makes absolutely no sense how these, you know, how these kanji are combined, and there's some kind of crazy logic to what they did 1,000 years ago, and I don't know what it is, and you'll have 20 different parts in a single kanji. And it's just like, I never think about that. I never thought about, like, well, this one has this, and that must mean, like, you don't have time for that shit, right? So once you get past intermediate level. So at that point, the Heisig method completely falls apart. And, you know, so how do you study Japanese at that point? How do you study kanji at that point? Well, in my opinion, the best way to do this, and this kind of ties into the video that I made yesterday, is that first of all, you need to be recording every single kanji or word or idea that you come in contact with every day. Record it, get an app on your phone that allows you to record it. I said in the last video, I'm using Nihongo on iPhone, on iOS. It's just Nihongo with a red background and then Nihongo in kanji. Ironically enough, if you're learning kanji and you can't read that, that's kind of funny. But yeah, learn how to write Japanese in kanji, and then you can find the app, right? And I used to use one on Android as well. There's similar apps on Android. I haven't used Android in a long time, so I'm sorry, I can't recommend any apps. But yeah, find an app that allows you to make a daily list in Japanese. And this is not something that I've ever heard anyone else talk about. This is something I just started naturally doing. So maybe it just works for me. I don't know. But I think the most important thing to do is that, you know, every time you come into contact with a word, you need to be recording it, and you need to be able to go back and find it again later. And the app that I use on iOS, it allows you to color code words. I'm going to make a whole series of videos about this later, but it allows you to color code the word in the dictionary, and then when it shows up again, because I color coded it, I know that I've already seen it before, and that gives me more motivation to study that word again. So, when you're recording these words every day, I don't want you to be thinking about, like, this is this part or this particle of this word or whatever. I mean, you can do that, but I think it's, you know, it gets to a certain point where it's just insanity at a certain point. Like look up the kanji for unconsciousness, muishiki. The shit gets crazy. So, you know, you don't have the bandwidth to be looking up every single part. So what you need to be doing is committing it to muscle memory. You need to learn each individual part, their stroke order, and you need to learn the muscle memory of each kanji. Now, yeah, it's important to know, like, specific pieces, but you're not going to be thinking about every individual piece. You just want to know the overall bigger chunks that kind of separate themselves into these like common patterns that show up in different kanji, right? So what I want you to do is you take this list, and every day when you get home for whatever you're doing, school, work, whatever, sit down, and this ties into what I was talking about yesterday. Go on Google, punch in the word that you learned, all the words that you learned that day, put them all in a list or something, write them down, or just have them on your phone, and go into Google and punch it into Google. It'll give you some suggested sentences or phrases. Click on those. Click on those, go into the articles, and kind of see how the word's being used. This will help you memorize it subconsciously. It'll make it seem more real to your brain, which will just make it easier to stay motivated, right? Then what I want you to do is basically take a single use of that word, take the definition, look up the definition, write it down in English, take a single use case example or two use case examples of how that word is being used or how that kanji is being used in different words, write those down, and then just write down the kanji 10 times, 15 times. And what I used to do every day, and by the way, guys, I've been in Japan for 10 years. I went to university here and everything. I probably should have said that at the beginning of the video to give myself more credibility, but oh well. But yeah, basically what I did every day after university here, drowning in schoolwork and failing all my classes and slowly but surely catching up and learning Japanese. So I'm not failing as many classes by my second year. I went from like a D average to a B plus average in 1 year because I was able to do this every day. And what I did is basically went home every day and you write down, like I said, the definition, how to read it, single use case, and then write down the kanji 10, 15 times. Then switch to another word. Right, do the same thing for that word, then switch to another word. And do this while you're like just chilling out. Like get a coffee, get something. Just relax, throw on some YouTube videos you like, throw on some gaming streams or whatever. I used to watch Game Grumps like 8 years ago or whatever when I was doing this. Just throw something chill on in the background and, just write it over and over because it's not about memorizing it or learning it. It's about committing it to muscle memory. Then the next time you see it, then you want to try memorizing it and it'll get easier to memorize it. It's about chipping away at it every day. You're not going to memorize words one time when you see them. And that's why I made that study habit or that, that thing, I added that thing to my phone because it takes 3, 4, 5 times of seeing the word in most cases for you to actually learn how to use it and for it to actually be committed and solidified into your brain, right? So, you want to be checking and you want to have a way to check that you've already studied it. But even if you can't do that, just writing this stuff down every day, you're going to be more likely to memorize it, easier next time. And even if you can't memorize it, you're going to have less cognitive resistance. It's going to be less stressful because you'll already recognize some parts of it. It'll be easier to memorize the parts that you can't remember, right? It's just about building up that subconscious knowledge base, being patient, enjoying that process, and just chilling out. But you need to have a routine and you need to spend a lot of time on it. If you're not spending at least an hour every single day going over this stuff, writing this stuff, looking at examples and trying to use this in conversations, which is a separate part of your brain entirely. So if you want to learn how to speak well, you need to be trying to use it. I recommend Hello Talk and the voice rooms on Hello Talk. But yeah, if you're not committing at least an hour every day, you're never going to learn Japanese. Because I'll tell you what, guys, like I was in this 10 hours, 12 hours a day, and it took me like 5 years. If you're not putting an hour in a day, you're never going to learn Japanese. But this is a way you can do it and incorporate it into your life in a way that's like you're not stressed and you're making progress. And as long as you're making as long as you remember a couple words a day, that adds up. And before you know it, you're going to be speaking pretty decent Japanese. And then, as you get better, it gets more fun to study and you can just spend more time just kind of like living in that world, immersing yourself in that world. So yeah, record what you're studying. Go through that method I talked about, write it down, write down the definition, write down examples, and then just write the kanji down 10, 15 times, and then just repeat. Go through 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages. Paper is no resource when you're studying Japanese. And and then just basically just try not to get too stressed out while you're doing it. It's about committing the different patterns in the kanji to muscle memory and just enjoying the process. So yeah. Forget the Hasig method. It's a bunch of BS. I mean, it's good. Maybe it's good for like a year, or for the first parts of learning Japanese. And it's good. I think it is important to learn the most 200, 300 common, the most basic kanji and what they mean. You need to know what the absolute roots mean. I'm not saying to not study like what's in like the beginner textbooks. I'm absolutely not saying that. But once you get to a certain point, the way they're combined together just gets like wacky, and you just need to not think about it too much because you don't have time. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this moving forward. I want to be focusing especially on like the mix of like psychology and language learning, and just kind of what it means to live as a foreigner in Japan from like a more mental perspective. All stuff as well too. And so yeah, if that sounds interesting to you guys, I'd really appreciate you supporting the channel. And I hope you got something out of this video, because I mean, this is just like 10 years of me learning stuff through trial and error and just kind of implementing it into my life. And you guys get to just watch the videos. So I hope it helps out a lot, and just try to enjoy the process. It's always, there's no end to this, guys. I've been here for 10 years. I'm still learning stuff. There's no end to it. So just enjoy it. And yeah, thanks for watching the video, and I hope you guys have a great day or night. Okay, see ya.